Well, good afternoon. Going back and looking at the film, really pleased with how the guys performed on Saturday. Offensively, we did a really good job of controlling the line of scrimmage like we talked about. I thought Carson was extremely sharp, especially early in the game. We worked on a number of things out of our empty set, out of our no-back set that we thought we could use to our advantage, and Carson did a great job on that. And we were able to win the time of possession significantly, and that was really important for a number of reasons. Obviously, keeping us on the field, but more importantly, keeping their offense off the field. And flipping over the defensive side, I thought our defensive line really dominated the football game, allowed our secondary to play more pass and to have a little bit more idea and thought of where Weineke was at to make sure we could give him some help when we needed. But I thought C.J. Smith played a phenomenal game and really controlled most of that game himself in the passing game, which was something that was a big challenge for C.J., and he really accepted it and did a phenomenal job. So we've got some things we've got to shore up. Obviously, the turnovers were a critical factor that, we lose that turnover margin, you're not likely to win a lot of these Valley games. So it's something we're going to address this week, and there's still some things that we know we need to improve on both sides of the ball. So I'll open up for questions.
Where do you improve on defense? I mean, you look at the improvement you guys have made already. You're like -8 net yards rushing over the last 9 quarters of football. You've seen a lot of growth. Where do you improve from here?
Couple areas. One, turnovers. We're not creating turnovers, and I know we're emphasizing it, but we're not getting those turnovers. We've got to find a way to get our offense a 40-yard field. You know, we did the one on a 25-yard field, shutting them inside the one, and then getting a nice return with Perk and get a score. But we've got to be able to create turnovers. And then we had 2 busted coverages, and one resulted in their biggest play with the tight end open down the sideline. And so we've got to be able to shore up any bust on defense.
Coach, with ESPN coming to town, is this the same routine what you got used to with game day last year?
I'll find out from Ryan and Jeremy what our involvement or my involvement will be. So I'm really not sure. It doesn't sound like it's not game day. So but I don't know what I'm learning just as you guys are. I'll find out more this afternoon.
Still on the bigger picture, I mean, you've heard talking to recruits what that game day exposure was. Sports Center right there in the morning, right before college game day. What kind of stuff does this mean, big picture, in the recruiting scene?
Well, it allows our brand, our name to continue to be out there, not only for football but for our entire university and athletic department. But it's those guys that maybe don't know quite as much about North Dakota State, the recruits from a little bit further away that can't drive to a game day, that at least maybe can see what it's like around here on game day if you're from Florida or Missouri or California or wherever it may be. So I mean, it's a great thing for our university, great thing for our program, and we'll utilize it as much as we can.
You mentioned CJ played pretty well, had a couple penalties called on him. What can he do to try to avoid that in the future?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, really, he played extremely physical, and if they throw a flag, I'm okay, because I don't want to take that young man's aggressiveness out of him. And you're going to get some pass interference. They had some on their side, we had some on our side, and the last thing I want to do is take a young man's aggressiveness away from him. And so he won't change one thing he did.
Is that something the officials prep for before the game? They kind of know he's a physical corner and likes to play that style?
I couldn't tell you.
Coach, how difficult is it to prepare for 2 quarterbacks with Northern Iowa's been rotating all season long?
It creates a challenge, but I think we've got a body of work now on both guys through 4 games that I know we'll look at that defensively to see, if there is much of a change in what they're doing offensively. Obviously, the skill set's a little different, but it does create some problems, and it's things that we've got to work on all week.
Talk about Carson just a little bit, the body of work he's put together this season, and how much you've seen him grow from last year already.
Well, we're putting more things on his plate, not only throughout the week in game planning. I mean, we're asking his opinion. He's watching a lot of film. He's seen a lot of these teams we play over and over again. And so we want to know his opinion on thoughts that things, plays, formations, things that he likes. And then as the game goes along, or as practice goes along, you know, he's seeing some things, and he details everything he does. He's an extreme perfectionist, and as the game goes along, there's things that he sees and relays them, and you know, he's throwing the ball so well. There's some throws he made on Saturday that there's only a few guys that probably can make those throws in college football, and we're fortunate he's one of them. And he's playing at a really high level. He's playing with a ton of confidence. I think he's 100% healed from the ankle that he had against Montana, and I think that's evident with how he's running the football and how he's stepping into his throws. So he's playing at a high level, and our receivers are doing a nice job for him, and the tight ends as well.
A sense of parity from last year when he was going into Northern Iowa, had a bit of a bum ankle then. Do you expect a sense of a search for redemption for him at all in this one?
I don't think so. That's just not the kind of guy he is. You know, we're going to prepare just like we always do. No, I mean, we can't. What was last year was last year. This is a new game. It's two new teams. There's a lot of new faces, and it's a big game because it's a conference game and it's at home. And you know, we just got to do a great job preparing to try to go 1-0 this week. We talk about it all the time. It's the next opponent on the schedule. It's a big game. And our guys have to do a great job of preparing. We can't worry about Saturday today. We've got too much work to do in between time.
Coach, how pleased are you with your defensive front's progress from game one till now?
Obviously, really pleased. We're doing a good job rotating 6 and 7 guys in there, which is keeping guys fresh. We're not playing as many plays. Obviously, that was the big thing you saw against Montana, was playing that many plays against a no-huddle, up-tempo offense, which is what Northern Iowa wants to do as well. So we're going to have to probably play a few more guys. But I've been really pleased at both positions, the D-tackle position and defensive end position, how the experience has helped them. Now, granted, we've got a few older guys in there, but they were spot players. Some of them were last year. Now they're having more significant roles, and they're playing with a lot of confidence, and they're playing really physical. And that's something that obviously is a trademark of NDSU defense in general, is playing physical, and those guys are doing a great job of it.
You know, you said from the start that the defense was going to have to grow during the season.
Yeah.
Are you ahead of schedule of where you thought you would be by the 5th game of the season?
You know, I think we're about on schedule in the fact of, obviously, we've seen some improvement, but from a daily operation, how I see it, how our coaches see it, we still have to improve. We still have to do some things better, whether it's in coverage, whether it's in communication. We missed some communication things on Saturday, whether it's technique. We are growing. We're about where I thought we would be, but I think we have to continue to get better. And for us to be successful in this league, not only do our starters have to get better, but some of those key contributors as backups have to continue to improve.
Coach, is there a way to describe the intensity of the Northern Iowa series since you've been here?
You know, it's two really good programs, two really good teams that, you know, I think bring out the best in each other. But you could have said that last week as well. I mean, there's so many good rivalries in this league that you know, and you got to be careful about putting too much emphasis on South Dakota State, too much emphasis on Northern Iowa, because you've got 8 of these things to get through. And but there's no doubt that you look at the games over the 5 years that I've been here, they've been great football games. And you know, we've been fortunate to be on top of a few and lost the one last year, and they dominated us last year. And you know, we've got to have a great plan this week.
I know this isn't always the most fun week for you. We've talked about that in the past. Does it get a little easier every year or not?
You know, it does, in the fact of I'm a little bit more removed from some of those players that I helped recruit. You know, that last year, that was David Johnson's class. I mean, I was sat in his home 2 or 3 times to recruit him. And now I think that all those guys have passed. There's a few guys that I still know on the roster. But you know, it's never an easy week just simply because it's your alma mater, it's your hometown, it's where your folks live, it's where your brother lives. You know, I either played with or coached with a number of guys on that staff. There's a lot of good friends I have on that staff. So that's the challenging thing for me. I know it's always worse. Honestly, it's worse for my folks. It's worse for my brother because they live in Waterloo, Cedar Falls. So you know, I'm kind of guarded a little bit because I'm here in Fargo, thankfully. So.
What's it like for your dad? I know he's so outgoing. You just spoke about it a little bit, but I assume
he's a guy that can get razzed and can give some razzing too. I bet it's a fun one.
I
for
think
him.
he gives it out more than he gets it. I know that with his golfing buddies and stuff and people around town. My dad's not afraid to say his 2 cents. But I know this is a stressful week for especially probably my mom, because she's worked in the Cedar Valley for so long and stuff. But it also is another football game. And I'm not going to be the determining factor. It's the guys on the field, and they're two really good football teams. I don't know where we'll end up ranked coming out of this thing this week, but it's going to be essentially 2 top 10 teams again, and probably 2 playoff caliber teams. Doesn't mean that either one of us will make the playoffs because there's a lot of football ahead, but there's 2 pretty good football teams going to go at it on Saturday.
How does Northern Iowa look different? I mean, I know every team loses players every year, but you guys lost some players that were there for so long, just like them last year. I feel like they had guys that have been playing for so many snaps. How do they look different offensively?
Well, offensively they do just because they have a new scheme. They've got a new coordinator. It's a new scheme, so that's a real big change from where they've been in the past. And that's what we're learning as a staff is we've got 4 games to learn what they're trying to do, which isn't a huge sample size, but it at least gives us a little bit to go off of. Defensively, it's pretty much the same stuff that I remember when I was coaching there 5+ years ago, and same stuff when Coach Ince was there. So I mean that hasn't changed. You still have, whether or not we know what they'd be in or they'd know what we would be in, because I think there's some parallels on both sides of the ball. You still have to be able to execute, and that's what it's going to come down to is good football players against good football players.
Gary Shepard, any update?
No, it wasn't. It was an AC sprain like we thought. We won't know a whole lot more probably till end of the day Tuesday.
Chase's health status on Saturday, and what's he?
He thought he was about 80%, and I don't know. I think Tim said he played maybe 15 plays. He felt better on Sunday than he did obviously the previous Sunday, even though we didn't play. So I think his availability will be much better. His workload will increase quite a bit. We may shelve him tonight for our first practice, but I think he'll go Tuesday and Wednesday, and we anticipate him being closer to 100%.
Tim was less than happy with the fumble that King had. Those of us in the press box could tell that. Might there be fewer carries for King this week? Is Lance going to get a bigger role? Are you guys upset with the fumble?
Well, we're upset with fumble. Bruce fumbled. King fumbled. Darius dropped one on the sideline that we were fortunate that went out of bounds, and it's something we have to address. But in the same respect, I don't know if we can go with one guy. I know that we still have guys that run some plays better than others, but you're right. You've got to be able to hang on the football, and the first few days of practice will be interesting this week with the running backs. That's for sure.
Each game is a big game for you, but does this year feel any different? You guys are about to play your 5th game, and pretty much 4 of them have been enormous situations before, whether it be rivalries, top 10 games. Yeah. Does it feel any different?
Only reason it feels different is this is truly finally feel like we're into a routine, of game on Saturday, get home really, really late, come in, spend 15, 16 hours on Sunday, and then come back early this morning. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest difference is just our guys are in a routine, and it's going to be this way for the next 7 weeks now of the Valley season. But other than just that, I think it's pretty much as normal right now.
Zach Johnson, chance he plays this
week? We're hoping he can practice on Tuesday. He'll run around today. He didn't have his boot on and stuff on Saturday, and we're going to run him a little bit today. Our hope is that he can practice some on Tuesday, and if that goes well, then we'll continue to increase his workload. It'll help us maybe rotate he and Plankers and Jeremy Kelly. We get a few more fresher bodies in there, but make no mistake, it's big to have Zach back. I mean, he's 330 pounds and can really run. He's athletic, and if he's healthy, he's a really good football player.
Is there a way to describe their gauntlet of games, 4 or 5 on the road, including at Illinois State, at you guys? That's as tough as I can.
Yeah, and they had the open week sandwiched in there, but I think they've really progressed well as a football team. Going from, you look at the Iowa State game to the next two games. I know they weren't pleased with how they played offensively against Illinois State, but you look at what they did against Iowa State and then go to Eastern Washington and Cal Poly, they were clicking on all cylinders offensively, and I think that's what they want to be, is what they portrayed in those two games, and give Illinois State credit. I think they did a really nice job. I don't know what the wind was like and weather and those things down there, but Illinois State did a nice job. But you know, that they've had a tough schedule. There's no question it's a tough schedule, and you know, they're going to be ready to play the Bison. We know that. Absolutely, they'll be ready to play the Bison.
Chris, I saw you go in front of the crowd on Saturday after the game, and I don't know if it was emotional but certainly passionate maybe. I haven't seen you do that quite to that extent before. Just thought.
I thought they were a huge part of us winning that football game. You know, early on, their crowd was really into it, but I also knew we could hear. You know, that was my concern. Could we hear in that bowl area where the students were? And Carson said we could. And then as the second quarter kind of wore on, I thought the only thing you heard was Bison fans. And I thought they were a huge factor for us. And our guys really fed off that in the second quarter. So biggest thing is, you know, to thank those fans for coming. They were a huge factor in us winning that football game. And you know, especially in that fourth quarter when a lot of the fans had left, it was just Bison faithful there. That was great. All right. Thanks.